And so the enemy loves to have us ignorant. He loves to have the people of God in a place where we don't know who we are, that we don't know what we're called to do, and we don't know that our purpose in this world is to obey the Lord. For the purpose that God sends us to the earth to do is to obey Him, bring His kingdom to the earth, and serve other people, not just people who are like us, not just people who we love, but to serve other people. And so the enemy, knowing the path that God had carved for me, the destiny that God has for me, does the enemy know it all? No, he does not. He has limited knowledge. And so what he did know was that my voice was to be a threat to his kingdom. Hello and welcome to the Brand Big Podcast, where we highlight and platform female founders and the bold, innovative, and genuine stories behind their brands. I am your host, Jonatta Toshira, and today I actually have a surprise for you. We do not have a featured guest today. We will next episode. In the last episode, you saw one as well. And we're going to continue to highlight and platform beautiful female founders, those high achieving women who are making bold, big, innovative, genuine moves in the marketplace, as well as in their personal lives, and creating brands that actually resonate with their communities and their clients. And so today, I want to invite you into my brand story, and the journey that it's taken me to get to where I am today. And so I want to begin by just sharing with you a little bit of my background. So, kind of like I'm interviewing myself today, right? But I'm not going to ask myself questions. So, where did I begin? You might ask, is let's go all the way back to childhood. And so, in my childhood years, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Did I know exactly what type of an entrepreneur? Exactly. I did. I did. And so I knew I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to, in my early years, I started with my Barbies, and I wanted to have this beautiful salon that was all about luxury and high fashion. And again, it started with me all braiding my Barbie's hair. It transitioned some years down the road to me beginning to really fine tune those skills. And so I would do my hair. My friends at school would see me with a new hairstyle like every couple of days. And then that would turn into them asking me, "Oh, can you do my hair?" And that transitioned into me doing nails. I was doing nails, designs, all of the things. That transitioned to me then serving their parents. So I had adult clients, right? And so that's a bit about how I got into the creative space and how I began to see that I had an eye for design. I had an eye for the finer things in branding and in design. And lo and behold, the enemy knew this as well. So I am a woman of faith, and I am all about faith forward. And so if you are not a believer in Jesus Christ, I bid you to stick around, even if this doesn't resonate with you at first. Parts of my story may. And so I knew what I wanted to do, right? Did I express that verbally all the way through? No. Was I able to all the way through? No. And though I'm at a position now where some of you may say, wow, you have a podcast, you're talking all the time. I actually love to talk. I hid that for a while and my voice was very quiet. The enemy, like I said, going back to the enemy knowing that I was called to the creative space, that I was called to be someone who was bold, who's innovative, and who's genuine all at the same time and functioning in the gifts that God has blessed me with. He desired to cut that off. The enemy in John 10:10, Jesus stated that he came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. But before that, he talks about how the thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And so the enemy loves to have us ignorant. He loves to have the people of God in a place where we don't know who we are, that we don't know what we're called to do, and we don't know that our purpose in this world is to obey the Lord. for the purpose that God sends us to the earth to do is to obey him, bring his kingdom to the earth, and serve other people, not just people who are like us, not just people who we love, but to serve other people. And so the enemy, knowing the path that God had carved for me, the destiny that God has for me, does the enemy know it all? No, he does not. He has limited knowledge. And so what he did know was that my voice was to be a threat to his kingdom. And so why not cut that off? And so I want to bring you even deeper into my story. And so, again, some of you, this may resonate with you. So at the age of 4, the enemy started to make me very fearful. I grew up in a Christian home. And so early on, knew the hymns, knew the songs, knew about going to church, knew about the lifestyle and the tradition of men, the traditions of man. However, I didn't know about the deep relationship with God and being intimate with the Lord until years later. And so at 4, the enemy cut my voice off because I just developed this fear. And there were open doors in my family line that I had no knowledge of, no clue about, because a lot of the people in my family knew about the going to church part. They knew about, some of them knew about the relationship with the Lord, but their trauma and the things that they had experienced caused them to be muted. And so I was enveloped or brought into that covenant with silence and being muted. And so at 4, that happened. Speed up, fast forward to the age of 8, I was molested. And being molested, that's another level of fear, because you now have a fear of, um, because you've been taken advantage of, right? And because you've now not been protected, right? And so with that happening, I would say the creative parts of me, or the spirit of the Lord in me being creative, right? That was suppressed for a time. It was suppressed in the sense that I didn't dream as big. I saw big, but I would suppress that because I now don't know how to vocalize what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. And so into my teenage years, I would say the Lord gave me grace to just flow back into the creative space again. I'm now at the place of where I talked about in the beginning, doing the hair and the nails, and I even ventured into catering a bit. And this is all in my, preteen and teenage years. And so was it a legal business? No. But it was fun to do. And so I would do those things. And that was an outlet for me. That was an outlet for me. That was a space for me where I could begin to dream again. I could begin to believe that I was here for a reason. I could begin to think again that there was validation or purpose even for my being here. And so that assisted me in not giving up on life. And I was even able to encourage other teenagers who were friends, and some were not so much friends, but they were lessons, right? They were sent to serve lessons and to be um, a point of reference for me to see, okay, you did that wrong, or you could have been, eyeing out for what was to occur. And so the journey, the journey in my early years, really, I believe that God used that to get me where I am today. And so I go into my late teen years, into my early 20s. I was in college, and I went to school for business because I wanted to have that salon, like I told you in the beginning. I went to school for business because some of my family members talked me into going to a 4-year university versus going to hair school, beauty school. And my ideal process was go to beauty school, then go to business school, get it. Like, I didn't even want a 4-year degree. I just wanted to go to beauty school for 9 months, go to get an associate's in business or something of that nature to learn the realm of business, and then launch out into my own salon, right? I had a dream of hiring people, hiring creatives, hiring men and women in the salon, and it being just a beautiful ambiance of heaven on earth for people, women, men, to come in and to be served, to relax, right? And so the salon idea still sounds ideal. I believe that when I build my dream home for my daughter and I, that we're going to still have a salon, like a whole little suite just for us, and we can do our hair and nails ourselves, right? Or hire somebody to come in. But I want to now take you into after college. So I graduate with my business degree, and that transitions into me working in local government. And I am a careerpreneur, as you've heard me, especially like on episode 2, where I was talking with Ellie Nieves. Shout out to Ellie. And we were talking about being a careerpreneur, which Ellie is herself, and just having the job, but also having the business. And there are times where God will call you to do the dual assignments. And it's not to overwhelm you, it's not to make you feel less than. So any of my brand female founders, those who are called to brand big out there, that you also have a full-time job or a part-time job and you're building your business and your brand, hey, you're doing it. You're called to do this. I know we're not at the end. I'm not giving the big spiel of a word of encouragement yet, but I felt led to stop there and tell you, you are doing exactly what is needed. If you know that you're called to both arenas for this time, a time such as this, do it and show up with integrity. Okay. I felt to release that right there. So after college, I began working in local government and I started human resources, which I love. That was my concentration in addition to the business administration degree. And in serving in human resources, I just saw the need to assist people and their most vulnerable times. So this all plays into where I am today as a brand strategist and the founder of FBTS. And so in working in HR, I began to see again the need to serve people and to help them through some of their most vulnerable times. I mean, times where they've lost their spouses or times where the employee may have passed away and we have to assist their family, right? And so I was able to just fine tune some character traits, fine tune some empathy, compassion skill sets, right? Soft skills as well. And so it was a time where I felt like I could do this. I could do this for 30 years, right? Transition happened quickly though. A year and I'd say 4 or 5 months into being in the career space in human resources, I then transitioned to come closer to my hometown because my great grandmother, who was very intricate, very, she was just a huge part of my upbringing. She was the woman who showed me what it's like to love Jesus. She's the woman who introduced me to worship and just being able to give the world to God, right? The world would be on her shoulders a lot of times, and she would just cry out to the Lord, a lot of times silently. And I now know that was due to a lot of the hurt and pain she endured in her lifetime. However, that beautiful woman of God taught me a lot about serving the Lord and his people. So I I leave because she passed away. And that was in 2014. So 10 years ago this year, it's 2024. 10 years ago this year, my great grandmother passed away. And soon after, her son, who was my uncle, my great uncle, he was an entrepreneur, he was a lawyer. He passed away, I would say 6 months later. They were very, very close. And after he passed away, or during his passing, I was in the midst of applying for jobs to get closer to home because I knew that this was hitting my mother very hard and I needed to be closer to home. So I do that. I apply for the jobs and I get one and I get one closer to home. And so I transition and I move. So my dreams of being an entrepreneur like I was in my younger days, it goes on the back burner. It shifts because transition hit again. And so with that happening, I come home, I get settled, I get in a new job in a new, same industry, still local government and different field because I transitioned from human resources to financial services. And in being in financial services, it was of a different world. And so I began working for a beautiful, beautiful woman. And in like the first few weeks, I was getting my MBA at that time because I still had dreams, right? Still was dreaming, was thinking rather small, but still was dreaming nonetheless. And because of the workload, I was encouraged not to finish my MBA. And I immediately dropped. I drop out halfway through with 6 classes in, had six classes to go, and I dropped out. So I immediately just, get deep into work because I'm single. I'm not married at this point. I don't have anything but my apartment and bills, right? So and myself, of course, taking care of myself. And so I'm still thinking about my family because, we've just gone through a very sensitive season with losing family members, but I'm settled and, I was back home, closer to home. And I began to get so deep in the work that I'm like, okay, I can't lose myself. This episode is sponsored by FBTS. Hey, female founders and YouTube friends. In addition to serving as the host of the Brand Big podcast, I am also the founder of FBTS, an innovative branding and design agency. And so what we do is we humanize brands. And in humanizing brands, we empower female founders, startups, and corporations to authentically connect with their communities and increase their marketability. And so as my free gift to you, I want to offer you a 15-minute brand consultation where you and my team can sit together and discuss how we can help you do that very same thing. View today's show notes to learn how you can sign up for your 15-minute complimentary brand consultation. And now, let's get back to today's episode. Like, there's more to me than working a job. And so the Lord begins to cause me to dream again. And when I say dream, I'm not talking about the dream realm where you go to sleep, because I am a dreamer. I am a prophetic dreamer by the grace of God, and I dream often, very, very often. And so when I say dream, I'm saying visions. I'm talking about having that space to see into the realm of God's possibilities for my life. And so I get back in that space and I begin to dream up possibilities even greater than what I had before. And so I'm still thinking, well, it could just be the salon. And so I even go to the SBA in my local city and I talk to them. It was a bit discouraging because they're going to tell you what they're going to tell you, what they're told to tell you. And that is to get a 50-page business plan and to go out and scout funding and to do these things and that thing. And the Holy Spirit shows me there's a better way. There's a more excellent way. And so I just hear from God. I'm fasting, I'm praying, I'm just seeking Him. And in that time space, God shows me the world of digital entrepreneurship. It's like, what? I've been missing out. And I've always been a techie person, like since I was a child. And we had the big box computer. Y'all remember that? Right. So I delve into, research, figuring out what is this digital entrepreneurship. I've heard of online entrepreneurs, heard of millionaire entrepreneurs, billionaire entrepreneurs online, but I had no clue because I didn't have a model of that around me. And so, um, along the way, I want to add this. During my college years, I meet some pivotal people in my life who are still here today. One of which you met on the very first episode of the Brand Big podcast, my best friend, Shayla Hilton. And so when I met her in college, that was a seed. She planted so many seeds in me, but she was one who was called to online entrepreneurship as well. And when she started in it, she was one who encouraged me. And so, but during my season of doing my research and everything, I wasn't conferring, kind of like Paul when God called him to the ministry. He didn't confer with human flesh in the beginning. He went up to the mountain of the Lord to seek the Lord about what he was called to do in the earth. And then he had talks with those who maybe were already doing it, right? Well, not maybe, but were already doing it. And so I had that space to just see God's possibilities, to research what online entrepreneurship was all about. And I see that there's need. I see that there are Christians who are in the online business space who need help with branding themselves, branding their companies. And so I jump into that, but I jump into it as a coach. So 6 years ago, I jumped into the online entrepreneurship space as a coach. If you're listening now, that would have been in um 20 I'm sorry, 5 years ago in 2019. And so just want to make sure that if you're listening to this years down the road that you're able to relate to where I was in that time period. So 5 years ago in 2019, I was in that space. And so I began to reach out. I began to build an audience. I began to write out. Like God didn't give me a 52-page business plan like the SBA recommended. He gave me about a 3-page proposal of possibilities of what he wanted me to do, how he wanted me to serve, and what I was called to be, who I was called to be. And so that was such a beautiful time because I had not dreamed that big ever. I had not thought about. This episode is sponsored by FBTS. Hey, female founders and YouTube friends. In addition to serving as the host of the Brand Big podcast, I am also the founder of FBTS, an innovative branding and design agency. And so what we do is we humanize brands. And in humanizing brands, we empower female founders, startups, and corporations to authentically connect with their communities and increase their marketability. And so as my free gift to you, I want to offer you a 15-minute brand consultation where you and my team can sit together and discuss how we can help you do that very same thing. View today's show notes to learn how you can sign up for your 15-minute complimentary brand consultation. And now, let's get back to today's episode. The vision going beyond me and going and staying in the earth after me, right? I hadn't thought about those things. And so the Lord took me into that realm to see it, to believe it, to really just fine tune the things that he placed in my hands. And I run with it. So Shayla created my first website. It's funny now that my agency is her trusted partner in branding and designing for her. And she was the one who started me off and got me in the space to have an online presence. And so that was such a pivotal time in my life. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it. And I didn't stay in that space of I don't know what I'm doing. So for any of you who are female founders and you're making money, I want to talk to you all first before I talk to any aspiring entrepreneurs and aspiring female founders. You who are making money, who are making the 4, 5, 6 figures per month, per week, per day, and you still are hiding behind your brand, don't be so concerned about having it all in the place and fine tuned to the way that you like it tweaked, especially if you are operating in the spirit of perfectionism. That is not where you're called to be. That is not where you're called to be and not what you're called to focus on. If you're already making the money, and you already have the social proof and the validation that what you have is transformative, if you already have the framework, your proprietary IP, your proprietary framework that is being the solution that your clients and your community need, you have to come out from behind your brand. And I need you not to focus on being aesthetically pleasing. I need you to show up as the person of value, the key person of value, the key person who is serving your audience, serving your clients, your community with the transformative framework, the transformative product or services that you have. And when it is time for you to invest, I will put a plug in here for FBTS. You'll see that shortly in if the commercial hasn't already played. But I would love to see you, no matter what company you choose to invest in to be your branding partner. I would love to see you and challenge you to not try to do it your way. Do it the way that God intended for it to be, and show up. The more you show up, the more you believe in what it is God has placed in your hands. You don't have to sit on the sidelines and think, oh my God, my website is so outdated, or my logo. And it's beyond that. It's deeper than what it looks like on the outside, because it's some things in you that God is working on. And so I need you to show up. Look at you. Look at all you've done and all you've been able to pour out and accomplish for those you're called to serve. And see yourself through the eyes, the lens of Jesus Christ, and begin to show up for yourself by investing in your branding and not trying to do it yourself or the way you think it should be done. So I pray that makes sense for you, female founder who's already in the space. Now, for those who are aspiring, I want to share with you, please don't try to show up and do it. Don't try to DIY it all yourself, right? And get frustrated. You DIYing it yourself, I'm not against that. In the beginning, you will have to do that. You may have to do that. If you don't have the capital to invest yet, you will have to do that. If you have the capital to invest, don't try to do it all. Don't go out and invest 5 figures when you're just starting, because things will transition, things will change. You need to be more fluid and more flexible in the beginning so that you can really get settled and established and dominate in your sphere of influence and in your industry, so that people know who you are, what you stand for, the values your brand holds, and how you can serve them. That's the major part right there. They want to know, they want to like, they want to trust you. But at the end of the day, they want to know, can you help me? Can you serve me? So don't try to DIY it yourself and get frustrated. And if you have the capital to invest, don't try to get everything done at once. Don't lock yourself into a $10,000 and beyond brand investment when you are in the space of establishing. You're not established yet, but you're in the place of fleshing it all out. Okay. So I pray that that helps you as well, to the aspiring female founder. Now, I want to dive back into my story. And so I began to dream big again, right? Because I'm now in this local government job, the second one, and things are very, very hectic. And I'm like, I can't get lost in this. I can't. I was seeing myself when I was in human resources there for 30 years, but this, no, I didn't. I didn't see that. That Polaroid picture was not captured. And so there's a lot of process that happens in this season. A lot of things are coming out of me. I go through a lot of life's changes and challenges. And even when I begin to, before I began my business and my brand, let me go back. I don't want to leave you. I don't want to leave with 2019. 2017 was a very pivotal year for me because I ended up getting married. I got married in 2017. And before you say, oh, amazing, congrats, or, post congrats, I want you to say that because this was a time in my life where I had an idol. And I know this is all about branding, but it's about inviting you into the stories that are bold, innovative, and genuine. And so my boldness and the innovative ideas that the Lord is allowing you all to see and witness today, as well as the genuine heart that He's given me to serve, it all had to begin with the story behind the scenes. And so I'm not sure if you know, but FBTS actually stands for from behind the scenes. So I'm bringing you from behind the scenes, the story that birthed the person, the woman that I am today, as well as the brand FBTS and also the Brand Big podcast. And so the time where I got married, I had a marriage idol, and that looked like me wanting the marriage and the idea of it versus God's ordained marriage and husband for me. And so that doesn't last long at all. However, God had great purpose in my daughter being birthed in the earth. And so my daughter was born the following year. I got pregnant like the first day that I was married. That night, I got pregnant because my timeline for my daughter's birth had to be that. God was spot on. He was very, very detailed about getting her here. And if I ever have a guest on that's all about motherhood or something, maybe I'll get deeper into that story one day. But for the sake of time, I want to just share with you and lead you into FBTS today. So, after getting divorced, I noticed as I'm raising my daughter that I have to build legacy for her. It wasn't about her being a millionaire alone. It wasn't about her having a name or a brand behind her name. It was more about the legacy of Jesus Christ being fulfilled in me so that I pass that on to my daughter. He's called us to be entrepreneurs. He's called us to build big brands, bold, innovative, and genuine brands. And if I didn't begin, I would leave my daughter or do my daughter a disservice and cause her to have to go through a lot of spirals, mazes, and turns before she could be catapulted into her destiny. And I refuse that. I refuse that. And so that's why my first business started that I told you about, that I was coaching Christians on how to build their brands and be the face of their brands, which transitioned. 2019, it began that way. 2020 into 2021, it transitioned into a brand, digital brand, and web design agency. And now we are FBTS. We humanize brands. We are here as a branding agency. We do also provide web design, and we service female entrepreneurs, female founders, startup founders, and corporations. And without my story, without me being in the position to vocalize and to put forth what God placed in my spirit on paper, on websites, on business cards, on retractable banners, on social media, in the airwaves, through the podcast. Without my story, without the things that God has caused me to triumph in and triumph over, I would not be before you today. I wouldn't be able to talk to you the way I am today. I wouldn't be comfortable in the skin that God created me in today if it were not for Him taking me through that journey. And so I want to leave you with this. I've given encouragement to the female founder who's already making money, already making the moves, to encourage you, female founder, to make bolder, more innovative, more genuine moves, big moves. And for the ones who are starting out, or the one who is starting out, for you to not try to do it all yourself. And if you are having to do it, don't try to do everything at once, but build, be established. And so I've given that encouragement. And now I do want to encourage you all to, whether you are listening and you are an entrepreneur or not, I want to encourage you to live your life the way God designed it. His original design for you is greater than you could ever imagine. It is more fulfilling, not just in the end, but all throughout. There are spaces of moments, bursts of fulfillment that will leave you speechless. If you do not know the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, this is a podcast, y'all, but God is leading me this way. I want you to search your heart and ask yourself, would I be able to overcome life or have overcome life's challenges if it were not for the Lord sparing me and granting me His mercy? And if you're able to find it in your heart today, invite Him in as your Lord and Savior. Declare that you know and confess that you are a sinner, and that you are in need of you, Jesus, Yeshua, being Lord over your life and every affair of your life, including the business and the brand that he's called you to build and release in the earth. And then declare, because those who call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Declare after you have received him, after you've confessed that you are a sinner and you know that there are sins you need to repent of and renounce, then you will need to declare that you are saved. And I invite you, as my sister, even the man, if there's a man listening, as my brother, into the kingdom of God. And I just felt this. I just felt this was needed at the end instead of the normal encouragement. And so this episode, it's been good for me. It's inspired me to continue to share my story according to God's will in the way he desires. And if you are interested in being on the podcast, this is something new. But another point that I feel led to make, if you are interested in being on the Brand Big podcast, I invite you to shoot me an email at hello@fbtsnc.com. It'll be in the show notes as well. And I look forward to coming back on another episode. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on social media. Let me know by email if this episode blessed you and if it was inspiring, if it helped to build you up in any area, and if it spoke to anything that you're in need of now. And also, if there are any suggestions of what you would like to hear on the show, I will come back another time with tips about branding, building your online presence, and all of the businessy things that we like to share with our audience and community, as well as our clients. But this was a special episode, and I am excited to hear your feedback. I'll see you next show.